Yeah, thank you everyone for making some time this afternoon during a lunch hour. My name is Colton Arabeski. I run a branding cooperating web design studio in Edmonton called ClickX. You can see us at clickx.ca. Basically, I began my career doing qualitative market research for brands, doing mostly market entry into Japan. So like Amazon, L'Oreal, Nike, Adidas, Diageo, like the Guinness family of brands. And it was very interesting. And I eventually moved into doing digital marketing consulting at Philip Morris Japan with one of their tech products. And yeah, I just fell in love with marketing and the idea of being able to convince people to do what you want them to do with great messaging and great tactical kind of deployment of technology. My core belief basically is that better messaging and better offers make better businesses. So today, we're going to walk you through what this micro-credential is. Actually, two micro-credentials. One is the introduction to digital marketing. The other is the introduction to brand building. It was formerly kind of a consolidated course, but we broke it out this past year to make really two kind of smaller micro-credentials that are easier to digest and a little bit more focused in terms of scope and outcomes. So today we're going to talk about we'll start with the intro to digital marketing micro-credential, and we'll talk about what is marketing. You know, marketing in short is the promotion of your product or service to an audience of people in order to drive your desired action, whether that's sales, whether it's people signing up to your newsletter, whatever that thing is. Marketing is the act of, distributing a message or a communication that drives that action. That's really broad. So, what's the purpose of this course? What do you get out of this course if you are to sign up for it? The goal is not mastery, but instead it's to understand. And I say that because in the scope of a micro-credential course, we're not going to train you to the point where you're able to jump into a marketing organization or to run marketing for a really large company, but you will understand the fundamentals of what goes into digital marketing and how you can make a difference for your business. So whether you're an employee at a company or you run your own small business, the idea is that you should come away from this course with enough to be dangerous so that if you're speaking to, let's say, an agency, you know the right questions to ask, you know where to point them to get the most out of their services. But also, if you choose to run your own marketing, you have a really good foundational starting point to say, okay, this is what's important, this is what's not. The thing about digital marketing specifically is there's no end of people who claim to be practitioners, geniuses, gurus, whatever the word is that you want to use, that are really, quote unquote, fantastic or masters of digital marketing. But that's not always true. And so the idea is just to give you enough information so that you can kind of separate the wheat from the chaff and really have an understanding of what's going to be impactful for your business. Because at the end of the day, if you're spending money and time on marketing, there has to be a business result. So the goal here is to empower yourself and your small business. And it's to learn the basics of digital marketing in a way that is immediately applicable, whether you do it or whether you outsource it to another company. So we'll look at questions like this. Why do websites matter for businesses? What is SEO? Why should you invest time and effort in it? How can you sell more with the least amount of financial input? How can you hire or outsource for marketing help? Outcomes, we'll cover digital marketing fundamentals, SEO, website structure, content marketing, digital advertising, insourcing and outsourcing, and email marketing. The good news is to do this course, you really don't need many tools. Ultimately, you just need a computer and an internet connection. The internet is the great democratizer. Basically, with a laptop or a smartphone and an internet connection, you can run a successful business from anywhere. It's taken the power of communication away from the printing presses, which were kind of the consolidation of power before. And now you have the ability to share whatever message you want on whatever platform you want, oftentimes for free. And that's enough to build a business. So I'm going to break into some examples of what's in the course, just to give you kind of a taster or a teaser. And we'll start with SEO. I think most people have probably heard the term SEO, if not maybe tried to run their own SEO at some point. As a marketing business, we hear from our clients all the time, oh, fix our SEO, we need help with SEO. It's a really broad topic. So there's a bit of a caveat with SEO. It's a large, dense area of study and specialization. I don't think there's any single course that's going to teach you everything you need to know about SEO. And if there was, everybody could master it and we'd all be rich because we'd all be ranking in first on Google, but that's not possible. So instead, the goal of this course is to introduce the best practices for SEO and to give you kind of a foundation so you can start running your own. Sorry about that. Going the wrong way here. All right. So what is SEO? SEO stands for search engine optimization. It's the act of optimizing your website and the content on your website to be picked up by search engines. Basically, Google is the only one that matters for the most part, so that your website ranks highly in search engine results. The question is kind of, so what? Search is the single most important channel for many businesses. If you go and do some research on your own, you'll see that I think it's over 8 billion searches happen every single day on Google, which is a ridiculous amount. So that's everything from people looking for recipes to entertainment to their favorite running shoes, whatever it is, those searches are happening on Google. And in particular, search implies intent. So when somebody types a search, which is called a query, into a Google search bar, they're expressing to Google the mission that they want to accomplish through the words that they use. So it could be best mystery books 2023, right? And they're looking for a list. That typically expresses intent of, buying. Or they could be looking for something fan fiction. Okay, well, they're looking for entertainment for free online. Or they could be looking for, why is my wall falling down? They're looking for information. There's all sorts of different types of intent. But once you learn to capture that intent and you build a keyword or an SEO strategy around that intent, you can start bringing in traffic to your website and into your ecosystem that is very ready to take the action that you want them to take. So when someone searches, for instance, best running shoes Edmonton, they're probably in a buying mode. And so if you are a store selling running shoes, it would behoove you to have some type of content on your site about the best running shoes Edmonton to capture that really high intent traffic. If your website ranks in the #1 spot in the search results for best running shoes Edmonton, your site will get actually 40% of the total clicks for that specific search on average. And so what that means is on the Google search results page, that #1 slot underneath the advertisements, that slot typically picks up 40% of the clicks total for that search query. But if you ignore your SEO strategy and your site only ranks on page 2 of Google, about 0.63% of searchers ever click over to page 2 and look at the results there. And that means basically nobody ever goes past page 1 of Google. So if you're not on page 1 of Google, you're not going to get the traffic that you're looking for. So in this course, we introduce a bunch of free tools. This is an example. This one is called GT Metrics. It runs free reports on websites, and you can just type your website in there, and it gives you what they call a GT Metrics grade. And this is how optimized is your site to be able to rank in Google. That doesn't mean is the content good or will Google pick up the content on your site, but is the site built well enough? Is it fast enough? Is it mobile friendly? All these different things that Google looks at for Google to put it in the running, if everything else pans out for a high ranking in Google. And so we break down how to use a tool like this, how to analyze a website, what types of performance metrics you'd be looking at. These are the 6 major performance metrics that Google cares about. And we run a couple examples where we look at sites who have issues in these areas and what you can do to improve them. And that's just kind of baseline foundational SEO. It's called technical SEO. So we look at on-site and off-site SEO in this course, and specifically technical, what you can do to make the site better, and content, what you can do to have the right keywords for Google to start finding your website. However, and this is where I think a lot of businesses kind of miss the mark, what is the biggest driver of traffic to businesses on mobile devices? The answer is maps. So if you're in traffic, you're in a parking lot, you're looking for lunch today, you're on a date or with your friends or something, you put in restaurants near me or Mexican restaurants near me, or perhaps you're looking for a dentist at home, dentist near me. In this case, we're looking for a shoe repair near me, and this is what comes up. What determines the order in which those results show up? It's actually an algorithm that's more complex than just a single one-word answer. A lot of it has to do with proximity. So they're not going to show you, results in, if I'm in Edmonton, they're not going to show me results in Calgary or New York. The other thing though is, Google measures everything that people do, right? How many people are actually physically visiting those locations with a Google device, like a Pixel in their pocket, so they can actually measure foot traffic to locations. But the biggest thing that you can control is reviews. And so if there's one piece of the equation that matters, how do you rank well on maps? It's going to be reviews. And so in this course, we talk a lot about, as a small business operating in a local geography, what can you do to get reviews and have a review capture strategy so that you can start winning on maps? Because if you don't have a Google review capture strategy and you're just hoping the universe feeds you a bunch of nice reviews at some point, you'll be left disappointed. On the other hand, if you have a very consolidated review capture strategy, you can actually overtake bigger players. So if you're a brand new, in this case, shoe repair store, you can overtake places that have been doing that, in that business or doing that service for many, many years. So we'll look at real tactics, real strategies for you to start driving reviews to your business and how to start competing on map search on mobile devices. So when people think of marketing, more often than not, they're not really thinking of SEO at first, or maybe you are, but a lot of people I see, they think about social media, right? The idea is social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, they all have huge active audiences. There's hundreds and hundreds of millions of people, billions in some cases on these platforms at any given time. And that means if you are able to place and communicate your service or product on social media in a meaningful way, you can capture a lot of attention very quickly. So we'll talk about how the strategy differs between social media advertising versus SEO, for example, and the idea of intent-based search advertising versus interruptive social media advertising. So you think about like the typical Facebook feed, there's 3 posts, and then there's an ad. And then there's 3 posts, and then there's an ad, right? So how does that work out? Why does that matter? And how do you play in that space if you so choose? The thing about content on social media is it has the potential to trend. So if you have a very enticing offer and a very enticing message, and you have a really dialed in brand, people can fall in love with that and they can share it with their friends and their family. And all of a sudden, what would have had maybe 100 views gets 1,000 views, and that gets 10,000 views, and that gets 1 million views, right? So the power to trend on social media is something that you don't get with search because you're really attacking networks of people and they're all connected. And so their ability to share that on your behalf is its own type of media. It's its own type of brand equity to have people sharing on your behalf. The final thing is you can identify audiences who are not in the buying mode yet and build segments of people who will buy in the future. So we'll go back to our running shoe example. There's a lot of, running shoe collectors out there who are looking for, that perfect 1986 Nike, blah, 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 but they're not ready to buy it right now. They just appreciate that type of content. On social media, you can curate an audience of thousands and thousands of people who like that type of content. And then within that audience, there'll be a certain percentage who are ready to pull the trigger at some point and purchase, but they wouldn't have been on day 0 or day 1 or day 10, right? So social media gives you that long lasting medium where you can connect with people over the long term. And in doing so, you can build that audience and build that trust and build that relationship so that when they are ready to buy, they choose you. In social media, obviously there's organic social and then there's paid advertising. So we do cover quite a bit on the paid social advertising side of things. And specifically, we look at what goes into a great social ad. What types of goals can you accomplish with social advertising? These are some of the ones actually just from Facebook, or the Meta platform as it's now known. Brand awareness, reach, meaning, you just want to put your message or your ad in front of as many people as possible, regardless of whether they're, the right person or they're not the right person to buy from you. Traffic. So taking that a step further, sending as many people as you can to your website just to see what happens. Engagement. You're getting likes and shares and comments on your ads. App installs, if you have an app on the App Store. Video views, how many people can you drive to actually watch and commit to watching a 1-minute or a 2-minute video that you create? Lead generation. That could be on the Facebook platform or on your website, but basically saying, okay, this is a form where we're going to connect or collect name, email address, phone number, business problem, and we're going to get that information so that our sales team can follow up with them. Or you can do conversions, which more often than not relates to sales, sometimes newsletter signups, but conversion is when somebody who is landing on your site takes an action that you want. You would call that a conversion or a goal conversion. Like I say, more often than not, that's sales. So if you're running an e-commerce business and you're selling products online, we'll talk about how Facebook ads and Instagram ads can help you drive conversions. We also look at content marketing. What types of content you can use as a marketer or a business owner to grow your business? And you think of content in terms of, videos, for example, right? What makes a good video or a downloadable PDF? Why would somebody want to exchange their email for a PDF from your website? And then, even if they do give you their email, what do you do with that? How do you run a proper content marketing strategy to nurture a list of let's call them leads, who have given you their email address, and then eventually turn those people into buyers of your product or your service. We look at things, again, another free tool example. This is called Answer the Public. We break this down in great detail in the course and how to actually leverage this for your business. It's nice because it is free. And you just put something in the search bar there, for instance, house cleaners, right? Use this when you want to know what are people on Google actually searching for around a specific topic. So in this case, the base word house cleaners, this tool will scrape Google search results to see what are the most common types of questions that people are asking around that main keyword. So you get what questions, where questions, why questions, can, who, how, all of these different questions around house cleaners. And those are data-based points that you can actually use to say, okay, a lot of people are asking, these 5 questions. Great. As a content producer on my website, as a business owner, I can produce questions, or I can produce content rather, that answers those questions. And I can push that out to the public. And all of a sudden I become an expert in my field. So in this course, we talk a lot about how to take this type of information and how to turn that into something that's useful for your business to help grow your audience of people who want to buy from you. So this course is not intended to be the end-all be-all of digital marketing. It's designed to arm you with the knowledge and fundamental understanding necessary to start your own marketing and make it possible to search out the right help if you need it. That's basically the gist of the course. There's a few more details in terms of like what we do with email marketing and stuff like that. It's not a particularly long course. I don't know how long McEwen is actually structuring it to be, but it is self-paced. We've recorded all the videos, so you can take it in the evenings, in the mornings, on the train, wherever you are. And the idea is that, after about, let's say 4 weeks of taking this course, like I said, you should be fairly well-versed in the basics so that, you're going to pick up things from this course that are going to be interesting to you as a business owner or working in a business in the marketing department. And you'll say, okay, great, I want to learn more about that. Now, you kind of learn what you don't know, so to speak. You can go to YouTube, you can go to other resources, and you can start finding out more information and go a little bit deeper in these topics, but you should have a good foundation. The other side of it was we took the original course, we broke it down into the digital marketing side, but then we also looked at brand building. So there's a second micro-credential called the Introduction to Brand Building. It's complementary in many ways to the Introduction to Digital Marketing. They share the first documentation, like the same documentation for the first module. But brand building is about how to start building your business into a valuable asset. And so brand is kind of a funny word because I think a lot of people have an internal definition of what brand is or could be. More often than not, in our experiences working with large companies who want to work on their brand, they're missing the mark in a lot of ways. So this course is going to help you build your brand in a way that's going to have longevity, and you're not going to need to work on it again for the next 5-10 years is kind of the goal. So ad spend won't help when your core messaging doesn't work. And what that means is you can throw a lot of money at social ads, at search ads, all these different places where marketing tools say, we'll put your brand in front of people. But if your core messaging is not on point and you're not speaking to the right audience in the right way, it's not going to work. You're going to be burning your money. So the goal here is to discover the intersect of your ideal client profiles, your ICPs, your brand voice, and your external communication strategy that will help drive your go-to-market strategy. So we talk about what is a brand? What is an ICP? How do you communicate your brand? And what are personas and the customer journey? This course is a little bit shorter than the digital marketing course. I think there's 4 modules as opposed to 6. But yeah, we'll break it down and kind of talk about what this is. So brand is not just a logo and a color palette. 95% of the time, if you search for branding services on Google or something, well, you'll end up with is a company that says, yeah, we'll put together a logo and a color palette and your, kind of brand assets, and we'll give you a whole package and brand your business. But unfortunately, none of that matters. It's the core messaging and how you speak to your ideal audience. How do you connect with them? Your brand is what does the selling for you when you're not in the room. This course goes into what it takes to build a brand from the ground up. Just as importantly, it teaches you how to define who you are building the brand for, and who you are not building the brand for. And so when it really comes down to it, what is a brand? A brand is a promise. It's a handshake with your clients when they purchase your product or service. Maybe more important than what a brand is might be what a brand is not. So this is some example or an example from one of the modules in this course. What is a brand? A brand is not a trademark. These are legal properties. A brand is not a logo or a slogan. These are your signatures. A brand is not a product. These are the intangibles. A brand is not an advertisement. These deliver your messages. A brand is a point of view that is rooted in strategy, not a select set of activities. A brand is a customer value. It's more than sound bites and images. A brand is an advantage. It's a key tool for creating and sustaining competitive edges. And a brand is more than the sum of its parts. Within the course, we take all of these points and we break it down into meaningful, tangible things that you can actually turn into tactics and strategy to build your brand. Your brand is a tool that people use to understand you before they know you. Think about how. Every decision that you make with your brand helps them to associate the known, so the things they've seen before, with the unknown, which is your brand. You know, we take an example of somebody walks into let's say a really nice restaurant and they've got a beautiful suit on and, an expensive watch. Those are all things that they're actually communicating to you who they want you to view them as. And they're subconsciously teaching you to make those associations. Nice things, nice person, expensive things, rich person. That is their personal brand. They give you an idea before you ever speak with them, who they are and what they're about. And that's what a brand can do for you. Conversely, if you look at sponsorships that get cut, the Tiger Woods scandal, and how brands cut undesirable things and move them further away from them, it's the same idea. They don't want to be associated with negative things, and you as a brand, you also don't want to be associated with negative things. So your messaging, your brand archetype, your brand voice, visual elements you use, and a well-targeted ICP and messaging strategy, these are all building blocks that you're going to use to create those desirable associations with things that are known or things that are familiar with people. We also talk about your brand story. And the idea with this is storytelling is a really powerful tool in your toolkit. And story is up to 22 times more memorable than facts alone. When we start building and differentiating your brand, there's a lot of questions that we look at. What deep need do we satisfy? What is our, forgive my French, raison d'être, or our reason for being? What is our core competence? What are we really good at doing? And so within this course, because it's only 4 modules, we don't go hand in hand with you to figure these things out, but we do point you in the direction to really start building a toolkit for yourself to build your brand that answers these questions. That's going to help you put together those building blocks that we talked about before. Like I said, the idea is that your brand becomes a toolkit that you can leverage to grow your audience, to grow their love of your product or your service, and to sell more in a shorter period of time. And here's kind of my final point is brand does not equal graphic design. Once you have your core brand building blocks in place, you can reach out to a graphic designer and they can build your logo and your color palette. This course will absolutely not cover how to make a logo because honestly, it's a skill that takes years to develop. There's no way in 4 modules that we're going to teach each of you to be an artist to the point where you can design a logo. It's not worth it. It's not worth your time. If you're not already a graphic designer, I highly recommend that you just work with a professional graphic designer. The good news is that you'll be well equipped to decide how you want your brand and what type of brand you want to build. So excuse the typo there. How do you want to build your brand and what type of brand you want to build? And you'll start seeing the gaps in every brand that you encounter. So it's a short course, but it goes really in depth into the messaging side of what brand is. And the goal is to really give you impactful tactics and strategy to build a brand that is going to benefit your business in a way that you can actually do on your own. That's basically it. These are fairly short courses. I realize the webinar was scheduled for an hour, but we do have some time for Q&A. So hopefully I can take some questions from people and fill them in as to some of the contents of this course. Other than that, maybe I'll open the field up to Romy.